All right, it is 7:32, so I'm gonna get started, everybody. I'd like to introduce myself real quick. Hi, my name is Vander, and I do have a co-host. They're not really huge about being on camera. That's my friend Tin. And we're gonna get started. So I'd like to say a really big welcome to all of you, and welcome to Closet Cosplay, How to Cosplay on a Dime. Um, Closet cosplay has been a very large passion of mine for the last couple of years. So I figured, why not do a panel? So first, I would like to give a word of caution. This panel is based on my own personal experiences and should only be taken as advice, not a set in stone rules. This has been my personal experience. So please glean what you can from this and go forward, because cosplay is extremely varied and we all have different ideas and versions of what that means to us. So moving on, we're going to start with thrifting and pulling from the closet. So some big questions that you guys might have are, what is a closet cosplay? What is a thrifted cosplay? Because these are two sort of like cheaper options when you're trying to make cosplays. And to sort of give them very strict definitions on each side. So you have closet, which comes strictly from your closet and are always ready to wear items. What that means is that you could go to maybe Target, Walmart, or some store and be able to be like, I want that, pull it off the shelf and wear it immediately. Thrifted, on the other hand, are things that are bought at Goodwill or other different thrift stores. And the clothing tends to be harder to re-find. So it could be like a really cool vintage piece from the 80s that you got for like $2. But because it's actually from the 80s, you're not really going to be able to re-find that. That's going to be really hard to get your hands on again if you misplace it. So most cosplays are going to fall in the middle of this, simply because it's really hard to make a full cosplay from either side. And also, a lot of cosplays, especially when you're in closet cosplay, will have some minor tailoring or some design elements added. But generally speaking, almost all your pieces can usually be worn as streetwear or street fashion, meaning you can put it on, go out, and the pieces individually look like just normal clothes that you have in your closet. A good example is with over here, I cannot remember the character's name from Rocket Power right now, but these camo pants, these red shoes, totally able to be worn in a normal circumstance. Now, I would like to talk about some skills that could like help in terms of thrifting and doing closet cosplay. And all of these skills eventually do come around to helping you save money and improve your cosplay game. So the skills that I'm going to talk about in the rest of this presentation are color coordination, research skills, your character interpretations, knowing and learning the versatility of an item, prop designing and makeup, and last of all, patience, which seems a little weird right now, but it will make sense later. So to start with, we have color coordination. And what color coordination is just the general overall like grouping of colors in a character. So here we have Bakugo right now. A good example of this is the fact that we can see all 5 of the main colors in Bakugo right on this. We can see he has the red with his gloves, the green of his gauntlets, the orange on some of his smaller pieces. He's got those black pants, and then obviously the yellow for his hair. Now, why this may be important to closet cosplay is sometimes we can't get the exact perfect color because we're not picking from fabrics that are like available at a craft store. So we kind of have to go with whatever, like this particular turtleneck that I'm wearing, whatever shade of green that's in. And so working everything in that same palette helps to create a much more cohesive look in your closet cosplay and allows you to start saving more money, because one of the things is once you have this piece, this cost me $5, and then you build everything around it, you're not having to generally search for specific colored items in the exact tone, and then that allows you to have much more freedom. So another thing we just is research. why do we research, and is it just enough to just look like them? Which for some people, if that's their goal of cosplay, perfectly valid, perfectly fine. When we're doing closet cosplay or more thrifted things, the more research you do, the more it's going to help your cosplay game. So for still image photos, just looking like the character, exactly having the sort of exact color, exact cut, exact outfit, that looks amazing and it looks great and it's a wonderfully valid form of cosplay. When we're doing closet cosplay, for in-person videos, knowing mannerisms, typical catchphrases, and even their lore can help immerse you into the cosplay. And to follow on that, an immersed cosplayer doing phrases, acting with their character, can sometimes draw more attention than someone who may look a lot more or exactly like the character. Such as my character right now with Luigi. Uh, I don't have the overalls, I don't have the bright green shirt, but by knowing mannerisms and ways that they act, I can sell Luigi a lot more, and people may pay more attention to me over someone who has all of the suspenders and the overalls and everything. Also, with research comes power. Maybe your character has a super complex design. Um, most of the season, so they might be wearing a corset or an extremely weird wig or something. But knowing enough research, you can sometimes find like simple one-off outfits that are a lot easier to pull from your closet or do some minor alterations on clothing that you already have. um, and one of the other things is you may find a wig that is more versatile that can be used for multiple characters, which is going to play on a point we have a little later on in the presentation. But that's one of the things that doing a lot of research can help with, is finding things that are more versatile. So the second thing is your interpretation. This is key. Um, your ideas matter. Whenever you cosplay a character, you have some sort of reasoning behind it. You want to look like them, you're appreciating them, whatever that may be, that's important. And however you interpret this character is also important. So how you view them is important. Do you think they're a villain? Do you think they're a good guy? Do you think that they have this sort of mixed anti-hero energy like a Deadpool? That's all very important things to think about when you're trying to pull things out of your closet to put together cosplay. Um, do they feel like they might be studious or lax? Are they vain or not concerned about how they look? That can play into different things like if they're extremely vain, when you go to grab maybe a white collared shirt for that character, whatever that design may be, you make sure that that looks pressed. If they're sort of more slovenly and they don't really care about how they look, they're someone who overworks themselves, maybe that clothing is a bit more tattered, it might have some stains, it might be unpressed. So those are things that add little details that eventually all build up. And this, this informs all the choices you make. Um, a I think I covered all my points. I apologize. This is my first panel. But to cover the bullet points we have here, a vain character may have a compact on them, or constantly adjusting their outfit to look perfect. A lax character may have wrinkled clothes or messy hair. These are, once you've done all this research, your interpretation of what they might do can be used even more to add more mannerism, more life to your cosplay. Now we're getting on to my and my co-host's favorite part, props and makeup. As some of you who may have joined earlier saw, there was a lot of props that we have, and we're going to get to those in just a minute, but I'm going to cover these bullet points first. So props help in that they add more distinguishing characteristics. They can add story to your interpretation. As we see in these two photos that are being presented, the one character, which is me, I'm cosplaying Blathers there. And one thing that helps with the identification of Blathers is the fact that that's a fossil. In my hands, I am holding a pillow that I made that looks like a fossil. It was very simple to do, just a little bit of hand stitching, and now the character is much more identifiable. Um, the character right next to that is Trixie Tang from Fairly Odd Parents. that cosplay might not read as Trixie Tang immediately without the photo of Timmy Turner. But the moment you add that photo, that singular photo of Timmy Turner, it becomes immediately recognizable. And that's sort of one of the things that props help. And while I have Tin with me, I'm going to show you guys just a couple props that are super easy to make to kind of give you an idea. The first one I'd like to show is actually one made for Tin, made by Tin for me, for an Yzma cosplay I'll be doing later this week, which is just a simple potion vial for Yzma. And it even flips up and has the llama. And this whole thing costs no more than about, what would you say, Tin?
Well, it's one out of many that I made. Maybe $10 with like hand sanitizer, soap, glue, the little jars from maybe a Walmart or a dollar store.
So basically, no more than $10, and that's not even for the full thing. That's after making several others as well.
Yeah.
So it can be very cheap to make some props that give a huge amount of impact when you're trying to make your cosplay more recognizable, for photo shoots, videos, and things like that. A couple other things that they have. Why don't we show off? Your skull that you've made. So
I did not make the skull, but I did make the mushrooms.
Thank you. So one of the things is this is actually for a original character that they have,
D&D character,
who is for a campaign that I actually run. And their character is actually a death paladin, death oracle, death cleric.
Worshipped the mushroom poison goddess.
Yeah. So this head is actually just a cheap aquarium head from any sort of fish store. The clay here is just some very simple foam clay. That with mushrooms you can kind of go any sort of design you want, because mushrooms are just weird. And then they've just simply been painted with a little bit of acrylic paint. And they found this piece of driftwood,
actual wood,
which is actually part of their staff, and then they can just place their skull on here. I do apologize, everybody. We have very limited room. Let me show you that, though. Sorry. So the whole thing, I think, costs less than what? Maybe $30?
The stick was free. I had foam left over from old projects, and maybe the skull was maybe $5 to $10
yep.
that I had in my fish tank.
So one thing about props I would like to say is also stick with strengths. Tin is really good with clay. And so a lot of stuff that they do, they make small foam clay things. If there is some sort of craft that you're good at, absolutely leverage that to help you make your props. So we're going to scoot on, for time's sake, we're going to scoot on to makeup. So the reason that makeup helps is that it sets the idea of your character. It can distinguish versus, are they young? Are they old? Are they human? Are they not human? What's their sense of style? Most cosplayers were used to makeup. Even if you're doing a male character or what have you, we'll put on some sort of makeup. And what that can do is it can help set more identifiable features, but also, again, the tone of this character. For example, I am doing Yzma in a couple of days. We're doing some age makeup with simply just a little bit of liner, a little bit of charcoal liner, and then buffing that out. And that just makes my face look older. And so some very simple makeup hacks can actually work a lot of wonders. And I will tell you this right now, you do not need to go to Sephora, to Ulta to buy the really expensive makeup. Nowadays, if you go to a Target, they have very cheap, easy to work with makeup, simple palettes with a lot of color. I can highly recommend NYX in particular, has a lot of color, a lot of choice, very cheap and cheerful, give you a whole bunch of options. And that's going to go into another thing that we're going to talk about, which is wigs. Wigs have an immense change in how a cosplay is perceived. This changes the wearer's perspective. Sometimes it helps them get into the sort of mindset of this character. And it can help make the difference if a cosplay is recognizable. As we talked about with Trixie Tang earlier with the photo of Timmy, all of these characters are from My Hero Academia, and they're all wearing a school uniform. Other than Momo at the end, who is obviously wearing a skirt, the other three boys are a little bit indistinguishable in this photo without their wig. But once we add in their wigs, we can immediately tell in the front is Midoriya, in the middle is Todoroki, and at the end of the boys is Bakugo. And that's one of the things that can be very, very helpful. I will say you do not have to spend a lot of money on wigs. That is one thing I will always remind you. Amazon is always an option in terms of wigs. And also, I will admit to this as well. When I first started cosplaying, I bought Party City Halloween store wigs. It's all about trying to take what you can find and make it work, which is the philosophy of closet cosplay. Um, the and my last big point is going to be versatility. One piece of clothing can equal many, many, many outfits. And another thing, as we've talked about before, using it for everyday wear. One of the things that a lot of us cosplayers run into as a problem is closet space. We run out of it because we'll hold on to old cosplays, we'll keep trying to get more and more pieces. And when that starts happening, takes up a lot of space. When you have one cosplay that can do multiple things, as you see down in the corner, we have the My Hero Academia sports uniform. That is exactly the same for every single character. So if you had planned to do multiple My Hero characters, maybe do them in their sports uniform. And then you're just having to change the wig, change the makeup, and you've managed to save a lot of money instead of having to go and purchase a whole new outfit for this one character. Above is an example of a tracksuit. I looked this up. I looked for tracksuits under $20. This whole tracksuit is available for that on Amazon. All you have to do, maybe get some acrylic paint, line it out. Now you have your UA uniform. It's using tricks like that to help save money that is one of the best parts about closet cosplay, because you just need a little bit of skill, a little bit of time, and you can make worlds of difference in your cosplay game. And so the last thing I want to touch on, oh, no, I will apologize. I put an example before I got on my last point. So we're using all the things we've talked about. I'm going to use an example for you guys. So we have here Pearl from Steven Universe. She has about 5 primary colors. Her fashion sense is subdued. She tends towards function over fashion and has an overall mom vibe. These are all things you can find through doing your research, looking at character designs, all of that. So what can we do with all of that information? We can sort of stick on the mom vibe. We have a mom vibe. That's a great thing to go towards. We have this color palette. Teal has been very in right now and has also been in for the last couple of years. So you'll definitely be able to find teal clothing at things like Goodwill. Save some money there. You might even have a teal top in your closet. Now that we have the top, we just have to find the shorts. White shorts are very easy to find if you can't find that particular version of yellow, and dye can be very, very cheap and easy to use. So possibly either you have these shirts in your closet or you can dye some very easily. Once you start building on that, you don't have to necessarily go for the pearl up in the top right on this panel. You could go for pearl at the very bottom, which she has her blazer, and a lot of people associate the lower half of her with blue jeans. And so if you have a teal shirt, blue jeans, and maybe even a denim jacket, very easily you have now completed most of a pearl look. So it's using the versatility, the character design, making choices that helps bring these sort of closet cosplays together. I mean, if you have a leather jacket, the design of pearl on the left with the leather jacket, totally option. That was a one-off episode. When you do your research, you can find all sorts of options that you can choose as a closet cosplay. And the last I want to touch on is patience. And some people might be asking, why is this a skill? Well, number one, patience helps you save money. All sorts of stores, Goodwill, Target, Walmart, Joann Fabrics even, they all have sales. And a lot of them are relatively predictable when they will happen. So if you're able to be patient, take your time, and if you already have a lot of your cosplay in mind, you can absolutely wait till a sale to get that last needed piece or those extra bits here and there that are going to help make your cosplay. Um, Sometimes with closet cosplay, you want to have your clothes be versatile. You want to be able to like use them again and again. And sometimes the perfect piece of clothing is out of season. Um, Here in Maine, we have 4 seasons. That is fall, winter, mud, and unbearably hot. Also known as spring and summer. But they're not going to sell a winter jacket in the middle of summer. And let's say you're doing a character from a really cold climate and you want them to have some sort of jacket. That's not going to be available readily in a store. And if you go online to try and find that, that is probably going to cost you a lot more than if you're able to bide your time, wait around for that to come in stock. And again, on the saving money front, sometimes if you look at clearance at the end of a season, you can get things for extremely cheap, and for like less than like 10, $5. Um, and then the last thing is sometimes you have to wait for the right piece to come along. A very good personal example, and I'm going to bring us back to our props and makeup picture real quick. The Argyle sweater that I am wearing in this for Blathers, I spent about 6 months on the internet looking for a brown Argyle sweater with cream triangles. That took a very long time, and I had the possibility that I was never going to find it. But one day it actually popped up. It was relatively cheap, and I was able to snag that. And that is an integral piece of my cosplay because that Argyle design down the front matches exactly with what is on Blathers in the games. And so that's why the patience can be very important when you're trying to do cosplay, especially closet cosplay, and you're trying to do it on the more cheaper side, on the inexpensive side, because it does pay out later. And one last thing, now we're starting to move into specifically saving money. And I want to talk about that because that's one of the big features of this panel is let's do closet cosplay, which in itself has all these fun little like bends in the rules and allows us to have interpretation and all this fun stuff. But one of the other benefits of closet cosplay is saving money because cosplay can be very expensive. And it can be hard to sew and it can be hard to craft things. But some of the ways that you can save money is rework old pieces into new characters. If you have anything that can be salvaged for multiple characters, I highly recommend doing it. I had a white dress shirt that I used for an Oran High School Host Club cosplay. I used it for a Grell Sutcliffe cosplay, and I still have that same white dress shirt that I used for my Blathers cosplay as the underpiece. So when you have pieces that are very versatile, remember that and you can continue to use them again and again and again. Paying attention to sales, which we already mentioned in having patience, can be a huge save on you. Places like Joann Fabrics, if you need even just a small little piece, which Tin, do you mind handing me that potion bottle you made? Tin, my good friend Tin actually made what looks like a potion bottle. This is a vinegar bottle that has just a little bit of leather strapping on it. That the leather strapping, what cost you?
Well, it was on clearance for like maybe $15, a big roll of it.
Big huge roll on clearance for 15.
The pre-cut rolls. Yeah.
Pre-cut. So this was for fake leather. That's relatively cheap, and it's able to be tossed into a cosplay, a prop very easily. And I'm assuming that was at Joann's?
Yep.
Places like Joann's constantly have sales like that. Targets and Walmart clothes start going out of season. They have a huge sale on that stuff. That's going to save you money in the long run. Another thing is setting a firm budget limit with yourself. When you set a budget, you start looking at already, what do I already have? Because that's where you're like, oh, I've absolutely saved money here. But then you can go on, and as you're spending part of your money, you realize, okay, I have to maybe pull back a little bit, or I can go forward more with my money. And that helps also add into the ingenuity, the creativity that you're going to express, but it also helps keep you from ending up spending sometimes $200, $300 on just one singular cosplay, which for some can be very prohibitive. As I've mentioned before, always check what you already have. I cannot stress that one enough. Check what you have. That's clothing, wigs, props, anything. If it's in your house, if it is in your possession, think if you can use it in a cosplay, because you would be surprised the weird things that may pop up in your home that you can use in a cosplay. And just when you plan multiple cosplays, think about what can use the same pieces. If you're having a year where, as we discussed before, My Hero Academia, very popular. If you're planning on doing a couple My Hero cosplays, maybe scoot them over instead of a street fashion wear for them. Maybe going with that sports uniform that they have to wear. That can save a lot of money in the long run. So now we're going to move over to the next part of this panel, which is a Q&A session. I did set aside 30 minutes for this, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. First, I am going to check our chat just to make sure if we have any questions there to start with. Loved having the Kaiji. Cosplay to Suka. So to just reiterate some points in our chat, we do have someone who said they loved having a photo of their Kaiji when they cosplayed as Suka, which I'm assuming is a character relationship. I'm not very sure about that one. They decorated the frame with hearts and glitter, which very much makes it very point blank for people looking that there is a strong love from character to character. So I would love to open the floor. If anybody has a question, feel free to unmute, send it in the chat. If you don't know how to use Zoom, the easiest way to do that is go to the side of your picture and just hit ask to unmute. Do you have anything you'd like to add, Tin, while we're waiting for a possible question to pop up?
Recycle.
Ah, okay. This is the thing I forgot to mention that my friend Tin really loves to do. So much of their props are made out of newspaper and cardboard. If you'd like to come more in shot, Tin.
Hi. This is the Pidge's robot from Voltron, which is just made out of cardboard and paper mache and just paint. Just that. And then this is Jack Frost's memory tooth box, which is cardboard, bottle, cardboard, and paper mache. Things you easily can find in your recycling bins.
Yep. And if you already have used it, if you've got recycling, absolutely helps cut down your cost. It helps eliminate waste in the waste stream, because you're probably going to hold on to whatever item that is for a while. And oh my gosh, your prop is leaking on me. Technical difficulties over here, everybody. But I will talk about, I believe they had one more prop they wanted to show off.
Which one?
Which were
the wands.
These stunning wands that they've done. So a lot of people are doing more D&D cosplays or witchy characters or just
Renaissance.
magic users, Renaissance. One of the nice things is wands. And my good friend Tim, would you like to talk about these?
Well, for one, the sticks, dollar store. A big bunch of these for $1. And then everything else is, like on these two, details are made of hot glue and then random flour that I had left over. And then these two are raveled with, I forgot what type of, like, cord string. And then D20s that I had that are useless.
Because unfortunately they are a little too weighted and our group is a little stringent on that. But again, recycling anything that you have lying around helps make props, adds depth to your character, can sometimes help make them more recognizable.
Hello, I'm sorry to bother. So I haven't been here for the entire panel, so forgive me if I overlap about an already talked about topic. I guess my question is, what is the least and most you have spent just sticking to thrifting materials? Because I find it to be like completely random. Like sometimes Goodwill can be super duper expensive and you're like, what? Why? So I'm just curious, what costumes have you thrifted that have been the most expensive and the least expensive in your opinion?
So
I know. Sorry.
Nope. I love your question because it is very honest and a very blunt one. It's that kind of pained moment where you really think about how much you spent. And I did, if you managed to catch it, I did have a Argyle sweater that I wear for Blathers.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I don't like to admit how much that cost me because it came all the way from the UK.
Oh,
It's from a brand called Tweeds, which is actually really kind of expensive. But it was on like a random seller website. So that one piece alone did cost me $47.
Ooh, okay.
Just that one piece. However, I think Ting can probably absolutely beat me in terms of thrifting things.
For cheaper, yes.
For cheaper, absolutely.
My Jack Frost when I was a teenager back in the day. The pants were usually my mom's. I had a blue hoodie, so I just had to take brown paint and weather out the bottoms and cut them up and do white frost. And I bought a wig, which was really cheap on Amazon for maybe like $20 or less. Then I made my prop. My most expensive prop would be his staff that I made out of PVC piping and this putty stuff to make it look like wood, and then paint. That's most expensive, cheapest, I think. Along with the one I'm wearing right now, which is short tie-dye t-shirt, Anastasia wig for Kristen Appleby's from Dimension 20 Fantasy High.
And I think the cheapest I ever have is actually a thing I want to like pop in while we're answering your question is bag props. You always want a bag. We never have enough pockets. So using your versatility and your research to figure out a bag, great idea. But this bag is actually the cheapest thing I ever thrifted because I found it at, I think it was a local charity shop. And this was $2. And this is, it's a nice pleather, but it works perfectly for characters like Blathers. If right now I'm cosplaying as Luigi, this is also the bag for that. Again, versatility. And this was a old cell phone pocket when they used to be that shape, like a brick. But you can throw a hammer or something in there. But this is probably the cheapest thing that I've ever thrifted.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much for your response.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your question.
I have a question, but hold on, let me get my camera up because I prefer talking. Been a long time since I've seen you guys, but so my question is, I should have learned this in our cosplay club from back in the day, so I apologize if I've forgotten. But are there any websites or like stores in particular that you recommend avoiding, like the plague?
Avoid.
That's okay.
Really, any place that has their logo on it, the Gap, might.
Yeah, I Yeah, I would
But
probably.
that's not a big problem though.
Yeah, I would probably.
Anything expensive, but you do.
Yeah, one of the things that I would avoid, it's not really necessarily a particular website, but more a caution when using the internet, is paying attention to where something is going to ship from.
Okay.
The shipping is generally what is going to kill you if you are online. I would definitely like when you're searching the internet, you can a lot of thrift shops and charity places and places like Goodwill have started putting things that they have online. So
Cool.
I would check out like if there's anything local as a sort of like boon to you rather than a warning.
Okay.
But
I live on campus at USM, and there's a Goodwill within walking distance. So
yeah. So I would, in terms of online, I think the big thing I would warn against you is making sure you know where something may be coming from. And then honestly, I would just kind of avoid Wish. Like Wish,
yeah.
probably I can think of that immediately. Wish I would just avoid completely for any sort of cosplay thing. It's going to take months and months to get to you. And half the time when it gets to you, it is ill-fitting, it is not the right color, it is not the right cut. So not only have you may have only spent a couple dollars, but generally speaking, you've wasted a lot of your time
Or
that
just
you
fall
could,
apart.
it'll fall apart. You've wasted a lot of your time that you could have been trying to come up with craftier solutions that may have cost a little bit, but then you'd actually have something that functions.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest caution is like watch out for Wish for like specific cosplay pieces.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Like that, Tim?
For that question, I don't think so.
All right. Thank you so much for your question, RJ.
Awesome. Thank you. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you too. Any other questions out there? Let's see. I think we have about 15 more minutes if anybody's got any more questions.
Well, more like 20, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's only 8:09.
Oh, where is that?
Which what?
I have to delete the thing at home.
What are you talking about? We also talking about bags, which I have
Oh,
two.
right.
You had 2 bags you were talking about? Oh. Bags.
Yeah. So
Well, technically, you didn't pay for it. It was a birthday gift.
this was a birthday gift. But I will, until we have another question, I will mention again my love of bags for cosplays. This was a gift, and I'm doing Yzma. This will be my bag. One of the nice things that I have to say about bags when you add them as props and accessories, is just how recognizable they can make your character. This was a gift, so it cost me nothing. Also, if you have people in your life who support your cosplays, absolutely ask them for things. That is a huge way to save money.
Just like my my bag up there from May.
Oh yeah, that's right. You do actually have.
I have that expensive bag.
Yeah, you have
My
the
bag.
what's the character?
Snowball.
Snowball.
The Overwatch May Snowball.
From May. Helps immediately make a character recognizable, was a gift, and again, because this was a gift, versatility, I'm going to use this every day. I use this most days. And then again, it just kind of helps with recognizability, sort of multifunction. It's not just a singular prop, it's something that I am actually going to use. In fact, it actually currently, and it has all of the Yzma pieces that I have for later on this week. So definitely look about bags because we never have enough pockets. We never do.
Another good prop is plushies.
Yeah, plushies can actually be rather cheap.
I remember when I did. God, what's his name? From Homestuck. John. I did John Egbert from Homestuck way back in the day at ParkCon, and I had shorts, a blue t-shirt that I painted the air sign. God, it's been years. And a wig that I already had for Harry Potter, and one of his things was a plushy bunny, and I have a picture we're going through yesterday of me just a pink fluffy bunny as a prop for this character.
Now, if I can think about that, that's also similar to what Honey-chan has for
the
Usta-chan, yeah.
Yeah.
So like that's
a prop.
If you had done honey, you would already have had your prop.
Yeah.
Which is definitely a way to like save money. You already have it in your closet. Which again, when we're talking closet cosplay, that's one of the sort of like ideas here is that you don't have to go out and buy a whole new set of clothing, props, wigs for a new cosplay. It's really about trying to figure out what you already have and maybe adding a little more in to bring a new cosplay to life.
A funny thing with anime cosplays, with closet cosplays, beach day cosplay.
Oh, those are always really fun.
Just need a bathing suit, maybe a wig, a beach ball as a prop, and a beach pool. You got your closet cosplay.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Beach, as fillery as they may be, like beach episodes are a godsend for a closet cosplayer because again, it's one of those things, our interpretation allows us to be, maybe it's not the exact swim trunks that character has, but it has their same vibe, and voila, you have done a cosplay. Oh, 1 second, I'm just gonna read off one of the comments we have. So from B Paraho, Raho, I apologize if I'm butchering your username. Many apologies. They say, although I have no questions, this panel gave me a refresher on ways to find stuff for cosplay. Well, thank you, B. We really appreciate that. I want to encourage everyone to cosplay. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a way to express yourself. It's a way to show appreciation for characters that we love or bond with and the people who create them. So I want to make it and encourage everybody to find ways to break into that. And I think closet cosplay is one of the ways that we do that, because it can be cheaper. It just does it, and it doesn't take as many resources necessarily, because relatively speaking, internet is relatively cheap and available to many people. So once you have access to that, it becomes this wide world.
It's the best way to get into cosplay.
Absolutely.
That's how I got into cosplay.
Absolutely. I can't say that my first cosplay was a closet cosplay.
I can say mine was.
Ooh.
My first two, actually. My first 2 years at PortCon. Coslet.
So my first cosplay was Nekozawa from Oran High School Host Club. So a side character. So this is why, again, research is important. I repurposed a velvet cloak that a best friend's mom had made me for the Harry Potter book release into the cloak for Nekozawa. I made a little puppet. And then I bought a very, very cheap black dollar store wig. And for the first year, maybe 2 years that I did that, I had just a blue blazer and I pinned on a printed out piece of paper with the crust on it. And then after that, I did manage to afford like a full-on already pre-made vest with the embroidery. But that I still had so much fun doing Nekozawa. And to this day, I think that was some of the best times I've had.
My first closet in general, first 3 years or so, I can't remember, were just closet cosplays, being Kiba from Naruto, Sexy no Jutsu, Kiba. I had my own hair in pigtails, the red triangles painted on my face, and I had this black and red Chinese dress. I was like 14.
Yeah. So a little problematic. We'll
I was
admit,
14.
A little problematic.
I was a child.
We've grown.
And then I was Gumi, Vocaloid Gumi, with this hand-me-down dress I had my sister, was black and with green accents on it. I was Gumi. And then my Pikachu, which is brown skirt, white t-shirt. My friend made me a hat with ears on it and a cardboard tail with fleece on it.
I think I've seen that one.
Yes.
And it's really precious.
I'm like 16.
It's very cute. But I mean, like, you could have some closet cosplays, you just develop these memories. B, I hope you don't mind me sharing. I would love to share if that's okay. So we have from B, their first closet cosplay was Tifa Lockhart from Final Fantasy VII, and I basically threw it together in less than a week, and it was a pretty big hit. Felt pretty good for something I did with things in my house. I may have bought like 2 things for the whole thing. And again, you develop these wonderful memories because you're using so much skill, so much creativity. And that's not to say that people who sew cosplays from the ground up don't have that creativity, and people who purchase their cosplays don't have that creativity or those wonderful memories. But closet cosplay is a great way to have your first cosplay be super memorable. And thank you for sharing that with us, B. I really appreciate it. If anybody's got a question or anything, we have about like 5 minutes or so left. 5 or 10. If not, we'll just continue chatting about some things here and there about closet cosplay. Like, oh gosh, what is it? You know what's a really weird but easy cosplay to do? Hogwarts houses.
Which, with my Harry Potter costume, was my mom found that. You remember my Harry Potter one?
I do.
My just plain black pants. I had a button-up white shirt. Just a gray sweater my mom found for me at Goodwill, and then I made my own wand out of a stick and hot glue.
Yep.
And then I went to, well, it was before I went to it, but I had the wrong glasses. Boom, done. Oh wait, and then the little the lightning bolt
scar. Yeah.
And then like no other makeup.
Yeah. And I mean, now if you were to do that today, it'd be pretty much the same process, except like you're not a Gryffindor. You're not going to just.
I would make my own character as a Hufflepuff.
Absolutely, same here. And I
make
think,
my own stuff.
Yeah, it would be so easy to like if I personally know how to knit, so I could just quickly knit up a Hufflepuff scarf, and that's working to my strengths. You're pretty good at sewing, so to sew a tie is not too hard.
Not really.
So easily sew up a yellow tie, and it sort of starts to fit the vibe. So it's one of those things of like, play to your strengths. Tin is amazing at making props. I would say, no offense, you're better at making props than you're sewing.
Oh, I know.
No offense.
I like making 3D items and shot things.
My strong suit is role playing. Absolutely, I'm really good at that. But yeah, you always manage to find great props. Like, again, coming back to your little Jack Frost, this is a stroke of genius.
I made that for my first AB.
I feel like this is a stroke of genius, because like, it's one of those things, if you're holding it, like, people in the know are gonna know what this is. If they've seen the movie.
Yeah.
If they've seen the movie, then they know what this is.
I think I got so much praise for that it was one of the first props I made, except for the staff. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm good at this.
Oh yeah. So again, back to me praising my best friend about their prop making ability. Props helping identify your character, because I've personally done a soccer mom version of Pearl where the wig is flat. I'm wearing sort of a Steven Universe t-shirt that I got on clearance. I'm wearing like cuffed jean capris, a denim jacket, but I had the Pearl staff with me that they've made, and that absolutely set my cosplay apart, because people immediately recognize me as Pearl. And they're like, oh, wow, cool. That's amazing.
Another prop made out of recyclables and things around my dorm room.
Yes. Highly recommend, if you do not know what decoupage is, highly recommend practicing that as a skill, because it will save you in more ways than one. We have made so many props out of decoupage up in this. Decoupage. I'm pretty sure decoupage. Which, to elaborate on what that is very quickly,
fancy glue.
It's basically paper mache, but smaller pieces, and you don't have to buy like the paper mache making kit. Basically, what it's what is that, like, cosplayer Mod Podge, like the cosplayer's godsend, Mod Podge for sealing anything.
Yeah.
You use that water, and then you cut newspaper into
I
thin
use newspaper,
strips.
yeah.
Yeah.
I prefer ripping before cutting because then the sides go thin.
Yeah.
And add water. One, you can just save your product, and it can melt thinner.
Oh, absolutely. All right. So I think if nobody else has a question,
Comment?
we're gonna wrap it up. Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
When we're talking about the beach episode stuff, with My Hero Academia did it with fantasy, like Renaissance fantasy. Like they did like this fantasy like ending epic thing. I don't know, where they like, got like Renaissance outfits, but the character and the wig, mash those together, and boom, you get also that.
Oh, that's
because who has stuff from Renaissance fairs can do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or pirates or blah blah.
Oh yeah, that's where interpretation I think comes in for sure.
Mix it up.
Absolutely, and I think my last comment here is just going to be, always have fun. It's your cosplay. It's your cosplay. You do what you need.
As long as you like it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, truly and honestly, I've had people make fun of my Luigi, and I don't care. I had so much fun bringing this piece together. Oh. I made it with Tin. She's the one who actually helped me figure out how to cut this out, and actually, it's an actual hat that I covered. But I absolutely love this cosplay. It's one of my favorites.
It looks comfy.
And with that, I would just like to say thank you for attending, and I hope you all have a wonderful PortCon 2021. And I would be remiss as a cosplayer if I didn't do a little shameless plugging of my TikTok, which is at JR Cosplay. And do you want to tell them your handle, Tin?
Tinfoil Night.
Yeah. Absolutely does really fun, family-friendly content. So if you guys ever want to see more of us, absolutely follow us there. We post content. I'm not a regular content poster, but I think I post like maybe once a month. Once a month. You do sort of like batch stuff.
Yeah.
But have a wonderful time, everybody, and thank you for coming.
Bye.